Now, it's getting interesting. When I say interesting, I'm not doing my normal, they're going to get rid of Joe Biden thing. I'm telling you, we might have a new nominee for president, or at least Joe Biden won't be the nominee for president in 24 hours, 48 hours. By the time we get back from Independence Day break, that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we might very well have a new nominee. That's what's happening here. So let's give you the latest and worst on all this. According to the New York Times, now I realize that's saying a lot. You know, the New York Times is about as evil and dishonest a media organization as humanly possible. The New York Times, they're saying Joe Biden is, weighing whether or not he's going to continue. And here's the thing. You ever hear this about normal people? Maybe you're going through this. Maybe you've gone through this, but I bet you've heard it before. As soon as you start thinking about retiring, you're retired. It's inevitable. As soon as the thought starts going into your mind, maybe I should hang it up. Maybe I'm all done here. Then the clock is already ticking. Being president is brutally stressful. Being president while running for president is twice as stressful. Doing all this with dementia is virtually impossible. If this story is true, and he's really now weighing it, no more digging his feet in, we're going forward, and now he's weighing it, he's probably out. Now, that brings us to some very, very interesting things that are happening around here. What's one of the major things? One of the major things is Hunter Biden. Now, this made a bunch of waves yesterday. You've heard a lot of this for the last 24 hours. But after the debate, Joe Biden gathered with family, and allegedly, we don't know, allegedly they were discussing whether or not his campaign should move forward. We've heard enough rumors that we can probably safely assume they did discuss it. Family got together. Hunter, Joe, Jill, they all got together discussing things. Hunter, after that meeting, has been attached to Joe Biden's side, right by his side, like a barnacle on a boat. Now, people have been yelling and screaming, how we got the crackhead in the White House now? What, we have a convicted felon in the White House now? Well, allow me to explain. Obviously, those are valid concerns, very, very valid concerns, but why is Hunter Biden there? The Bidens over the last, since the debate ended, actually since about 5 minutes after the debate started, the Bidens have been losing friends. Now, none of those people were actually friends, but allies, supporters. We love Joe. Go Joe. They've just been falling off like you can't imagine since about 5 minutes after the debate started. When the Biden family gathered to discuss whether or not he was going to move forward, Joe was looking left and he was looking right, and there weren't that many people there around him. Hunter Biden, not only his son, longtime business associate, was one of those people. When you're running out of friends, you tend to turtle up and gather around you the few people in your life you feel you can trust. If you want to know why Hunter Biden is there, it's because Joe Biden has lost more friends in the last 24, 48, 72 hours than a lottery winner who goes bankrupt. He's just running out of people who have his back. And now the backbiting, the whispers, the snipping is starting to leak out of the White House. We know White House staffers are starting to tell the media that they're scared. I can't use that word on our family show here, but they're scared a lot, day to day, of Joe Biden. Now, what's the deal here? Well, for one, I'm sure they are scared of Joe Biden. Joe Biden has been sold to the American people as the nice old man. Now, why was that? Well, they were trying to, the media and Joe Biden, they were trying to build the anti-Trump. Trump with his more rough, blunt, in-your-face style. They wanted to make Biden the anti-Trump. Hey, our guy's something your guy's not. Look how nice he is. What a good man. A good man. They kept telling you that. But that's not Joe Biden. He may be old, feeble. His brain may have melted into the pavement, but he's not a good man, and certainly not a nice man. Never has been. He's never, ever, ever had that reputation From his earliest days in Washington, D.C., Joe Biden has been known in political circles as being a grade A jerk. And he's been a jerk. It's not like he's been a jerk behind closed doors, on camera for the majority of his political career. And I don't just mean to Republicans, right? Okay, you're having a debate with Republicans. His own staffers, reporters. Joe Biden belittles people, talks down to people. Joe Biden's been a jerk forever. Well, here's the terrible thing about dementia, whatever the case, whatever he has, Alzheimer's, whatever it is you start to lose pieces of yourself. And it's an awful thing. I hope you never have to go through it. I've seen it in my own life. It's awful. And eventually, you're left with just kind of the bare bones of what you are. You've lost so much, but you're left with the bare bones of what you are. Joe Biden's been a jerk his whole career. Now he's an old jerk who can't talk anymore. Of course he's snapping at people. That's also part of dementia. Of course the staffers are scared. The real story is the staffers are starting to leak. You see all these people who work in the White House, they're all ambitious political people. All of them view the White House job as a meal ticket to something better. Maybe you're going to go at a higher ranking position in this senator's office. Maybe you're going to go work for CNN, the DNC, who knows? But the White House is a nice thing to have on the resume. And right now they're all looking at Joe Biden's poll numbers. They're freaking out. And now the whispering and the backbiting begins. And that brings us to the meeting that happened today in the White House. A governor's meeting. Powerful governors. New York, California. But we'll get back to California in a moment. Before we get to Gavin Newsom and all the other governors that are meeting in the White House, you need to know something about politics, something you probably already know, but allow me to explain. A governor is a very powerful thing. I know but it's a very, very powerful thing. And the governor's coalitions on the Democrat side and the Republican side are extremely powerful. The Republican Governors Association, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, but in political circles, it's a juggernaut political organization. When you become a Republican governor of any state, you will become part of the Republican Governors Association. You will raise gobs of money. They swing a big stick. Governors swing a big stick, and the Democrats have a mirror of that. To have governors of several states, I just named the two most powerful, New York and California, but there are so many there, Minnesota, others. To have the governors gather in the White House is a really, really, really big deal. And we know now from reports what they're gathering to discuss. Joe Biden has to sell them. This isn't a bunch of governors showing up in the White House doing, what did Gavin Newsom say today? That he was just showing to support Joe. No. That's not what's happening here. The governors aren't showing up at the White House hat in hand. Joe, will you love me? Governors are going to sit down in front of President Joe Biden, sat down in front of President Joe Biden. We weren't in there, so we don't know. But Joe had to sell himself. Hey, Joe, how you going to win? What's the plan? Hey, Joe, did you see the poll numbers? Hey, Joe, what's the plan? And I would love to have been there for that conversation between him and Gavin Newsom. Remember, Joe's already called Gavin the next guy.
I want to talk about Governor Newsom. I want to thank him. He's been one hell of a governor, man. Matter of fact, he could do anything you want. He could have the job I'm looking for.
Oh, he's looking for it too, Joe. And that brings us to the elephant in the room. Dome. You see, it's one thing to get rid of Joe. They would have got rid of Joe 5 minutes after the debate if it wasn't for Dome. Vice President Kamala Harris is the problem for Democrats right now. It's actually not Joe Biden. If she wasn't there, they could dump that old fool, get him to hand the nomination to Newsom or somebody and move on about their day. How do you get over Dome? How do you get around Dome? She's the vice president. Vice president's the heir apparent. How do they handle this? And look, Dome has her own surrogates in the media, James Clyburn being a very powerful one out there talking about it.
This party should not in any way do anything to work around Ms. Harris. We should do everything we can to bolster her, whether it's in second place or at the top of the ticket.
I'm going to explain something to you, and this is a little in the weeds, and then we're going to wrap this up. We have too many guests, too much to talk to. James Clyburn, maybe somebody you don't even know. He's a congressman from South Carolina. Who's going to know that? James Clyburn is a majorly powerful political figure in the Democrat Party because James Clyburn is hugely in control of the black vote in South Carolina. And if you want to be the Democrat nominee for president, you really, 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 really need the black vote in South Carolina. It's why Joe Biden won the nomination last time. He and James Clyburn hooked up. James Clyburn decided to back Joe. Joe wins South Carolina, la-di-da, he's the nominee, and then he's president. I don't know how they're going to get around Dome. If Joe Biden does drop out, and he very well may, and I mean soon, we might have Kamala Harris as the Democrat nominee? I know, I can't. All that may have made you uncomfortable, but I am right.